when you're a paddler, there's a lot of sitting around campfires with people and stories come up.
Yeah.
Right, Greg?
And that's a pretty renowned
Yes.
canoe trip too, for a multi-day trip, and it's well known for that. Yeah.
Welcome to the Wilderness Wavelength Podcast.
Okay, welcome to it. This is another episode of the Wilderness Wavelength Podcast. My name is George. Our co-host, Scott Sunderwold, couldn't make it tonight, but we have some great guests returning. Rick Zroback. Welcome to the show, Rick.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, last time you were on, we talked, I think we talked a lot about your book, the 21st Century Voyageur. Just finished reading it last month. Great stories.
Well, thank you. It's my story.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like if you haven't read Rick's book, he's going from Rocky Mountain House down all the way to Ontario. Was it 65 days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
65 days to basically Thunder Bay, Ontario, which is on Lake Superior. Yeah. 3/4 of the book is about that.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
And also joining us, Greg Hore. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm excited. Scott was really pushing you because he was saying, like, Greg, if you're talking rivers, you got to get Greg on the show. So I'm like, okay, let's talk rivers. That's what we're doing on this episode. We're talking rivers, favorite rivers, river trips. We're talking kayaking, canoeing, because you guys have done some trips together. Like, how long have you guys known each other for?
40, 45 years.
Yeah. Like, from the Hinton area then, or where'd you guys meet? What was?
I'm a lifer. I've been here all my life. But Rick come in the 70s, right?
Yep, and met probably through paddling first, or I don't know.
Paddling or cross country skiing, one
and
of the
then
two.
maybe cross country skiing.
Yeah.
But since then we've been lifelong friends, big time.
Yeah.
Done lots of stuff together.
You guys done some big paddle trips together then?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, but, one big one for sure, like a
Clearwater.
Clearwater, and then then other small trips like just around here, like day trips, and yeah. So it's been good.
Let's hear about this Clearwater trip. You guys talked about before you turned the mics on. So what was this one like? This is, you mentioned, up by Fort Mac somewhere then, or?
Yeah, well, that was I don't know who ended up throwing that one together. I can't remember. Oh, it was probably you, I guess. The idea.
Maybe through my connection with Darren up there, maybe, I don't know.
Probably would have. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So how long of a trip was it?
About 3 weeks.
12,
no,
14 days. Yeah, it'd be 14 days.
Wow.
Like that,
Yeah.
I think the thing about that trip is canoe trips make or break relationships.
Right.
Yeah. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
And the other thing about canoe trips is you can get into some crazy, bizarre kind of things with people.
Okay.
And we also did the Churchill together too.
That was after the.
Yeah. And what I'm trying to say is to try to describe it on this radio pod show would be difficult, but the humor that comes up with a group of people, it gets really wacko and weird and out there. Right?
After 5 or 6 days, yeah.
Exactly.
And that's all you got to talk to.
And then you just play on it.
Yeah.
You just keep working and playing on it, and it gets crazier.
So when you guys are doing a trip, let's say 14 days, like, are you each in your own individual kayak then, or how's this one going?
Oh, this would be the tandem canoes.
Tandem canoes, okay.
So we flew in. You
cool.
fly in with float planes.
Wow.
It took 3 planes because we were overweight, so we ended up with 3 flights. And you land on, I think it was Lloyd Lake, I believe.
It was Lloyd Lake.
And carry on from there. And then at the end, then we had a jet boat come pick us up, so we didn't have to do another 2 days of just.
Wow.
2 days or 3 days, Rick?
2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
We didn't paddle into Fort Mac because it gets, well, I'm not saying boring, but a lot of more meandering and stuff.
Okay.
And we just wanted, we did the best part in canoes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Float plane takes you in, drops you off.
Yep.
And then, so what are you guys bringing for gear? like if you're going for 2 weeks, like
everything you need for 2 weeks. Yeah, and then when they drop you off, you're there.
You're there, eh?
Yeah, no, we didn't even have a satellite phone or nothing on that trip. It was just you're in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And then actually it was funny because the first rapid we went down, and Bev and I, we just took right over a big rock because the water, you can't see the rocks there, so they were hard to see, but then the water just flows over, and we just right in the middle of the canoe and just actually a bit funny because before that we were deciding what canoe to take, and I was asking Rick if I could borrow his, I think it was the fiberglass one you had. It's a good thing we didn't take it because we would have been walking back out. It would have been done.
Or some serious repairs.
Yes. So, it was exciting right off the start, and then it was really good, a lot of good white water and
a lot
of bonding going on, and
a lot of bonding.
Crazy stuff going on, yeah.
How do you guys find out about a trip like that, or how do you pick that location?
When you're a paddler, there's a lot of sitting around campfires with people and stories come up.
Yeah.
Right, Greg?
And that's a pretty renowned
Yes.
canoe trip too, for a multi-day trip, and it's well known for that. Yeah.
Any idea, like how long ago was this?
Oh my
Ouch.
God. Ouch. Perfect. I don't know.
It'll be 16,
20?
be close to 20 years ago.
20
now.
years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Any idea like what the cost of something that would be nowadays?
Oh.
Or even back then? Like to get, I just imagine like 3 float planes flying in somewhere is...
We probably paid about $1,200 each. I'm just throwing that number out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For fuel and
Yeah.
food and... the planning is, like Greg covered, you need everything.
Yeah.
But one thing that we've become pretty good at is figuring out food.
Okay.
So what we would do, we had 3 of us. And so you got breakfast today,
Yeah.
lunch, dinner. Tomorrow you might have...
Yeah, you switch around.
Just move it around.
Okay.
And so you would know how many meals that you were in charge of for X
gotcha.
number of people.
Yeah.
And plan around that.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's how you packed your cooler too, to keep the stuff
Yeah.
frozen.
Yeah.
So we had one cooler that was a freezer cooler, so we would layer that how you're going to take it out of there, so you kept it closed as long as possible. So, and it worked. It worked fine. We had frozen stuff right on day 7 still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
No issues with that trip? Did it ever go pretty smooth, or?
Did
Well,
anybody
except for Rick when we were coming down one rapid, I believe, and then
I know this was going to come up.
this chopper started flying over, and he stands up in his canoe and he's pointing at the chopper, and then wave hit, and over he goes into the water. Yeah. And he was swimming. So he gets pretty excited when
there's even an add-on to it. I did stand up, and I went, I should have been a rock star, and I went right into the water.
Was that what it was?
And even the bow of the canoe doesn't realize there's no stern paddler.
Yeah. When you guys are doing a trip like this, are you doing, like, you're taking fishing rods? Is this part of it?
We were waiting for the other planes to come in. We were pulling walleye out of the lake, and we had walleye that night.
And then we actually, on that trip, was really interesting. Remember we got that one place with Arctic grayling? There was that one river. It was like, this is walleye, northern pike country, but for some reason, this creek came out of this lake, and it was grayling.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, we had a great feed.
Yeah.
But we also did the Churchill and took on a ton of forest fires.
Where is the Churchill? What's that one?
Where'd we start? We ended up in Mississippi.
Yeah. And then we flew from there back to
Pine House Lake.
Pine House Lake, yeah.
Give me a name I might recognize. Is that in like northern Alberta?
Oh,
No,
no,
this is
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Oh, it's Saskatchewan. Okay.
We were in full-blown Canadian Shield.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Do you know the Shield?
Well, no, I can't really. No. I would say yes, but no, no answers to any.
And I grew up in the Shield.
Oh, yeah?
No, right? But we actually ended up canoeing, and Mississippi almost burnt to the ground where our vehicles were parked.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like everything turned out, and it was okay for us.
Yeah.
But the last third of our planning is where we're going to camp, because we were, you know the word fire flap? Of course you do.
Yeah.
Lightning.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you got multiple forest fires everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Right? Smokes. You're in a canoe and there's one, and it was like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them came together, and
Were you guys panicking at that point then, or?
no, we never panicked.
No, I think I think the night we ended up, the one night we had a sauna, and then when the sauna was done, then we were watching the lightning come down.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful night.
Beautiful night. We got on our boats and started going down. We didn't see any smoke or nothing, and all of a sudden there's a chopper going around
Right over our head.
Wow.
telling us to pointing like this and telling us to get downriver to
Yeah.
and then we look back because you're going downriver. We turned around, looked back, and could see all the smoke, and it was a little.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, we got some pretty good pictures of that actually, don't we? Of the smoke coming, and it was.
I actually have a painting. Our friend Darren Zandi, who was on it, there's a photo of Greg and I going. We got to a set of rapids, and do we portage or run it? Okay, that's always your. I don't know how I put that.
So portage, you're hopping out and you're carrying it across.
Yeah.
Running it, you're just hitting it full speed and hoping it
But
goes okay.
do you want to run it? Are you going to stay upright?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, are you gonna lose everything? So. Yeah.
And anyways, he's done a painting. I've got it in my house.
Yeah.
Of Greg and I going through a set of rapids.
Yeah.
And it's just like the photo. And then there's an airplane in the back, and there's a forest fire in the back. And remember, there was something to do with a fish, something stupid to do with a pickerel. I don't know. Anyways, I have that painting in my house.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, Rick, thinking of the bird.
Oh, and the pelicans.
Pelicans.
And the
he painted
pelicans
a
too.
pelican, because we seen a lot of pelicans on that trip,
Yeah.
so it was in the photo.
You're
too.
right.
It
You're
was
right.
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, really good picture.
Rick, we touched on your book when we first started 21st Century Voyageur. You're working on another book about rivers.
Yeah, I
know.
I mean, I'm sitting here beside a fella that's done as much paddling as me, maybe more.
Yeah.
Just different paddling. That's a big part of our DNA. But over the years, I'm calling my book right now, and I think I'm going to change the title, Rivers I Have Paddled.
Yeah.
I don't really cover lakes, and rivers can be creeks. They could be Drennan Creek, or they could be, so any place that's moving water is what
river.
this is about.
I brought this up because I was at a meeting last night with Beth McCallum. She was a previous guest on the podcast.
Okay.
I said, yeah, Rick's coming on. We're going to talk rivers. And she said, oh, Rivers with Rick. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a good title.
Rivers with Rick.
Yeah, put that on the idea board there. Yeah.
Not bad.
And I know when we had you on the podcast last time, you mentioned, any idea how many rivers you've paddled?
Yeah, I'm over, I think it's exactly how many beer cozies you have. I think I've got about 110 rivers and creeks.
110, yeah.
In that area. I could go, I've got to recount it again. And then we can do it like continents. I've paddled in New Zealand.
Wow.
I've paddled in Europe, in
Yeah.
England. I've paddled in the States. Where else? Belize. Of course, I'm going to forget. But yeah, so mostly Canada, but other jurisdictions. Well, in the States with the Columbia, like Idaho, Montana, Washington, Oregon. Yeah.
That kind of leads into, so we have a podcast question of the week this week, and it's what is your favorite river to float on? So we got a bunch of responses in, but I'll let you guys think about that for a second too. Pembina came up quite a few times.
Interesting.
Yeah, North Saskatchewan. Scott Sonnerwell, he said the McLeod is his favorite. The Bow River. Travis wrote in saying the Fraser near Tet John, BC is mighty fine, especially during the late summer during the salmon run. Aaron Jones wrote in saying the Athabasca. And then someone just wrote in today saying I like sections of the Red Deer River, headwaters, and dam down. So, you guys got a favorite river?
Let Greg go first.
Greg, what's your favorite river?
For float?
Yeah, well, just like
or
kayak.
you probably got more than one.
Well, probably, but for canoeing, it would be, I don't know, the hay is probably going to be.
That's what Rick said his favorite was last time.
I would. To me, the hay, and then, I mean, we've.
The hay is the wild hay. Sorry,
the wild hay.
Sorry,
wild
just
hay,
to tell the world.
What makes the wild hay so? Like, what makes it your favorite?
I think it's small. It's not pushy at the right water levels, and it's very enjoyable. And there's lots of, you're in the bush, like you don't see nothing when you're there. Like there's rock cuts and ledges and holes, and I don't know. It's just exciting. It's never boring, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, when you're like people living around the Hinton area, where are you getting in at normally? Like, are you getting in on Highway 40?
Or getting on Rock Lake Road.
Rock Lake Road, and
then it'd be the crossing where you used to come across, and you could come out onto Solomon Creek.
Yeah.
So it's I don't even know what the
I don't.
That thing.
That's a great point.
I don't know.
We know where it is.
Yeah. But I don't even know if there's a name for it
But it's an old crossing.
Yeah.
And the reason we would use that place, the old days of Blue Lake Center, that's where they would put people in to learn to paddle whitewater.
Right. Okay.
And somebody must have figured it out. And
well, like like we talked, like the section above it gets. Is a section above, but it's a little more tighter, and there's a lot more log jams and logs, and the section below is kind of flattens out and is not
point.
as it's more mellow and stuff, but it's still nice. But it's just a really good section for Blue Lake for training.
And to learn whitewater paddling, and to learn whitewater paddling without getting into a really dire situation. Do you understand? I mean, there's a lot of people who swam.
Yeah, but it is a good place to swim if you want to swim somewhere. And it's, the logistics of getting people out of there works, right? You're not stuck.
Kind of going along that too, Scott wanted me to make sure I asked you guys about this, but maybe this kind of digs into like the whitewater paddling. But is there like tricks to avoid like hidden rocks and sleepers and stuff like that? Any like tips for someone?
Oh,
that's just experience of learning to read the water.
Yeah.
Because eventually you hit them enough times you can.
Yeah, that one's coming. Yeah.
Well, you can see it in the water if you're watching, and Rick's good at it.
He's
done enough miles of it. So I mean, you just learn. You can read the water. I guess it's.
Yeah,
you're reading the water, and you know where the water's going and what it's going to do. And
just one little tip: if you're heading into kind of standing waves, and you're not sure where to go, look for the V.
Okay.
The V.
Yeah. Avoid the V or go
for the V? Go into the V.
Go into the V.
Yeah, take where the water's going is usually where the deepest is, and
Is there a favorite time of year you're heading down Wild Hay?
It's about water level.
Well, poor Rick, last year he couldn't even do the hay. I think it was number 40? 45 you missed?
What do you mean?
I paddled that river for 44 straight years.
Wow.
At least once a year.
Yeah.
And last year, because of circumstances, I wasn't around. Well, when the water was,
I don't think the water come up enough to. Well,
it did, but basically, Greg, third week in May till the end of June, usually would be fine.
Yeah.
Didn't happen last year.
No, Too low.
Didn't happen.
No runoff. Yeah.
Not enough runoff. You could, but you'd be maybe hitting rocks and dragging your canoe. And anyways.
Rick, before we turn on the mics, you said, I was thinking about, because last time you were on the podcast, you said Wild Hay was your favorite. You thought you might amend that.
Well, I think it's my most. I have to agree with everything Greg you said about the hay, but the river to me that in Alberta that adds a whole bunch of different dimensions. is the middle part of the Red Deer with all the hoodoos and landscape and prairie. And it's like three-dimensional. It's really hard to describe. And I've become pretty familiar with that over the last 10 years with brigading and other situations. But Greg has paddled the upper Red Deer probably many times. I've only done it once, so.
Yeah. No, I've only done it a couple of times, yeah. So it's, then you're stepping it up a notch, right? Then you're a little more...
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Like, I mean, you got to be more on the ball, and yeah. So it's
just more rapids. Then is that?
Yeah, and bigger volume. Like, if you want to talk volume, like the Hayes low volume, or the Red Derby medium volume.
Okay.
And it makes a big difference when you're coming to learn. Well, it's even different reading the water because you have volume instead of dodging rocks and stuff like on the hay. Yeah. So it's two different types of paddling basically. I think you just do
and big volume, you're going faster.
Yeah.
So you're making decisions quicker.
Yeah. What got you into paddling, Greg? Like, did your dad do it? Friends? Like, did you just see a river and you're like, I want to try that river out, or?
No, I believe it was the first time I worked for Lindsay Thompson for, I don't know, about 10 years. And then he decided one night we should go out with the Hinton Strokers. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, that's a paddling club in town that they just do canoeing and kayaking. Yeah. So we ended up after work and went out with them on I believe it was a Wednesday night or whatever. And then, I guess from there it was just, it was just.
You became addicted.
Yeah.
No.
I paddled before that and swam up on Beckers with my cousin. He didn't know what he was doing, and we went through Beckers, and he said, yeah, paddle as hard as you can. And so we went through, and we were just hit the big waves, and the next thing you know,
talking to that mic there, Greg.
I was in the front and probably weighed like 40 pounds more than him. So guess what happened when you go over the wave and into the next one? Well, it just knocked me right off the seat back into the back, and the next thing we're up to our necks in water paddling, and I said, hey, okay, what do we do now, cuz? And we had no other people with us, so we end up swimming and for a long ways, and we end up losing the boat. And I still remember trying to get up on shore, and I come crawling up on shore, and I went to stand up, and I fell right back down. I was just so close to hypothermia. It wasn't funny. Yeah. Like, it was just brutal. Like, it was. Yeah. So that was a good lesson learned. And then from there, I think I got to go learn about this, take some lessons, or get with people that know what they're doing, because that didn't work. And we ended up lost the boat. We had to winch it off a rock and everything in the park. poached Wapiti campground to go get the canoe off the rock. Yeah, it was quite an ordeal. But
it's interesting that Greg brought that up, because I think it's something we should bring up in this. His first horror story, and mine wasn't as insane, but it was May long weekend. I just come to Hinton, probably summer of 77, or probably 77 or 78. Old university buddies, let's go run the river.
Okay, yeah.
We had life jackets, but there was, of course, too much beer, and we had and there was no. Thankfully, one guy had like a dry bag and dry clothes and he was thinking a little more than the other. And I was in a canoe. I was in the stern, and I had a guy about 40 pounds more than me in the front, went into a wave, and next thing you know, we're over. And it turned out all right. It was May long weekend. It was warm. We got to shore. But for me, it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call that this is cold water. This is something you better be a little more cognizant about, and don't drink and paddle.
Yeah, well, let's dig into that a little bit then. So, like, I mean, you guys are paddling in like the headwaters of a lot of these rivers, or like glacier fed. Are you wearing like wetsuits? Is that part of your gear regularly, like, or dry suits?
Well, I did after that last experience.
Like regularly now?
Well, all the time I'm in a dry suit basically.
Yeah.
Dry suit, but if I'm in a kayak, well, I'll be in shorties, a dry top.
Yeah.
But if I'm in a canoe, we're probably the same. Depending on the day. Depending on the day, like
yeah.
But yeah, you definitely need to have.
And I did wetsuits and dry suits, but if I'm just doing the hay, maybe I don't wear a wetsuit anymore, but I wear all dry clothes. And
Okay.
I think, and I'm not trying to be cocky, and you never take a river for granted ever. Mm-hmm. Ever, because we know the expression, because they'll spank you, right? But you just maybe don't go as hard and don't just kind of control yourself a little more.
Yeah.
You don't have that exuberance of youth.
So you bring like a emergency kit with you guys then?
Of course.
That's what's good.
Like what's involved in an emergency kit? Like what would you have?
Well, let's back this up about
Sure.
not taking enough stuff and being prepared, because buddy and I here, Rick, we decided we're going to go do the McLeod.
I knew this story was going to come.
Well, it had to.
It's perfect.
And it's
perfect.
It taught us both a really good lesson.
Big time.
We could have been in really rough shape.
Yes.
And anyway, we get down there. It was a beautiful day, sunny. I was in my shorts fishing, and just it was McLeod River.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. We floated down.
Whereabouts are you guys? Like Catamount area or a little further?
Yeah, between Catamount and
between Catamount and
we'd be upstream 10 k's from the McLeod River campground.
Okay. Yeah,
15 k's, something like that.
So all of a sudden, this big storm comes in. We come around the corner and we decided, well, we better get off here because it was starting to hail pretty hard.
Ooh.
And lightning.
Lightning.
Ooh, boy.
We got in there, started up a fire, got a fire going, because we had that kind of stuff. We had matches and the normal stuff.
Yeah.
And we got the fire nicely going. It was nice flame starting to warm under a tree. And 15 minutes later, it was raining so hard and so cold, like it put the fire out. And we're sitting there. We ended up cuddling to stay warm because
we did.
We were freezing our butts off
In no time at all.
Mm-hmm. And thank God it quit and it come out and then the sun come out again, because otherwise we would have been in bad shape. So guess what happens now? We have a tarp
all the time.
Yeah. You can
One
never,
of those mini tarps. That's all you need.
Okay. Yeah.
like anything, because neither one of us had that time. And
No, a good point.
No, it's just
I'm glad you brought that up.
that was the first. Well, George gave me a little list of like safety things, and that was the first thing that come up. That was a good learning curve because we got lazy, I guess.
That perfect word.
Right?
Perfect word.
You should never do that. You should never do that in the wilderness, I don't think.
No.
On the river especially. Yeah.
Tarp in your emergency kit. You got some lighters or matches. Anything else that like mandatory to take with you?
Well, normally you always
I
have
a
the food.
first aid kit with all the stuff that would be in a bandage.
Yeah.
It was just the tarp that time. I think that we didn't have.
If we would have had a tarp, not an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then you guys wouldn't have been cuddling though. So.
Well, it was kind of a little. I mean, it was a little bonding thing, but then after a while, it was getting a little scary. We don't want to die out here.
So what is your guys like? Is kayaking or canoeing? Like, do you have a preference? Like tandem, solo? Curious what your go-to is normally.
My go-to is kayaking.
Kayaking.
But I love going with my wife canoeing. It's just no doubt about it. That's another thing. Like, to have a partner that you can canoe in is a special treat, because a lot of couples it doesn't work. So it's I think Rick and I are very fortunate to have wives that we can paddle with.
And then do you have so if you're normally going kayaking, is it a fiberglass kayak? Like, are they all pretty standard? Like, I'm not really familiar with that.
No, they're all plastic now.
Plastic?
Yep.
Yeah. Any issues with that then, hauling it around, or everything's pretty?
No, some of them get a little heavier, but you can buy lighter ones. But yeah, the old days they were fiberglass, they're nice and light, but they just didn't withstand the rocks and
Okay,
stuff. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what's your go-to, Rick?
Well, for me, I tried kayaking, and bottom line, I shouldn't even be talking about high-end kayaking because Greg's done it, but you have to have a roll, an Eskimo roll, right? Mm-hmm. If you're going to go to another level with kayaking.
Yeah.
And when I took the lessons, I just didn't like being upside down. I like being on the water, not in the water.
Right.
And Greg's just saying, no, right? Yeah. And I want you to add to this, Greg. So for me, I've always been just a canoeist. However, there was a period in my life in my 30s and early 40s, I did a lot of solo canoeing. And really high-end solar canoers can actually do an Eskimo roll. I couldn't, but you can get into bigger, better water, not quite kayak level, but you can test yourself in a solo canoe with the right airbags and all of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Greg, everyone that I've talked to about you, about kayaking and stuff, like Greg is like the kayak guy. What makes you that guy? I'm just like, are you hitting like bigger rivers, more rapids? Like, is that what you're searching for?
Not bigger.
Even Rick here is like,
it's more about the. For the last few years, I end up paddling by myself, which is a no-no in kayaking, but you do it because there's nobody around to do it with. But it's boring as shit. Yeah. There's nobody to watch, or if somebody gets spanked, well, then there's nothing to laugh at, right? But if you're getting spanked yourself, well, it's not much fun either, because there's nobody to laugh at you. So it's
don't you challenge yourself?
Wait, it is, and you got to stay in shape in the water. Like years ago when we were paddling with the strokers, we were paddling 3 days a week. So, you do that all the spring, and then you take off and you go do like the BC tour, and then you get each river section you do, you get bigger and bigger and challenge yourself, like you said. And by the end of it, and you come back, and then you hit the Fraser on the way back, and you could just eat the Fraser up because you're just in shape, and and the skill after a week of just straight paddling is just it feels so good. It's like any other athlete, I guess. You get to a point where you're connecting with it. You're balanced. You're on top of it.
Yeah.
What's the thrill?
What's the BC tour?
Well, it was. I think Ken Leonti and Hint Strokers, they started it quite a few years ago, and we took off for a week paddling. You'd start in Valemount on the canoe, and then go to Clearwater, and spend a day there, and then the Cornell River, and then we'd go. Which is in Lillooet or Likely, and you do the other one there now.
Is there a Caribou River there?
Caribou, yeah, the Caribou. Sorry, that's and then from there, you head out past Williams Lake and go to the Choco, which is big kahuna, you're talking.
Yeah,
big white water, and do a couple days on it, and then head back, and usually hit the Fraser like by Mount Robson, just to finish off your your trip. So it's a week long with, God, we've had up to probably 8-10 guys like doing that kind of trip, and then you'd run into other groups out there. So
cool.
Yeah, so it's
Hinton Strokers still around? Is that
no? They've been gone. Yeah.
Was that group going out to the Athabasca regularly? Is that kind of their training
Wild
grounds?
Hay.
Wild Hay? Yeah.
And McLeod.
Yep. But mostly the Wild Hay because
mostly Wild Hay.
Because you could do it. You could go out on a Wednesday night and go for a Wednesday night paddle and do some training and come back. And so it was. At one point we had probably 150 some members.
Wow.
And full-time coach in the summer.
Holy.
And it was pretty thriving. Yeah. And then it just taught a lot of kids a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys ever think about trying to start something up like that again in Hinton?
No, I don't think so. I think the logistics and what do you call it? The courses and stuff in
all the
insurance.
levels.
It would be. I think it would just.
I think the word that I hate the most in anything to do with outdoor recreation and teaching people and getting them out is the word liability.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Insurance.
It's all. There's so much of that now that it's taking away the opportunity for so many people to learn outdoor activities and have fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's that simple.
No, and I mean, I agree with that. It makes sense. It does make it a little tougher for, like you say, to start something like that. What's the plan this summer? You got any trips lined up or anything? You guys still doing group trips? Or?
No, we haven't canoed the last 2 summers. We haven't even been canoeing together, right?
No, hopefully we're going to be doing some day trips on the Hay and McLeod, which we'll just throw together pretty. I'd like to do a little spiel through Margaret at the museum.
Yeah.
On the weekend of June 15th and 16th.
Yeah.
And then the following weekend, which would be what, the 21st, 20th, 21st?
That math checks
One
out.
weekend is a tandem canoe course, and the other weekend is a Voyageur canoe course.
Yeah, she mentioned something about that.
being taught by you read my book. You read about a guy called Darren quite a bit.
Yeah.
Our leader.
Darren
he's teaching the course.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's from up north there somewhere.
No. Oh, he was in Fort Mac. Now he lives in Calgary.
Okay.
We
Cool.
paddled with him on the Churchill.
He's coming up to do those courses. Then.
Yep.
Rick, while we're on the topic of your book, I wanted to bring this up because I was just curious. You bring up Laura in there quite a bit, and you did not like Laura, and every time she comes up the book, I'm like, oh man, Laura.
Why are you doing this?
Well, I was talking to the wife about this while I'm reading, and I'm like, man, he's really hammering on Laura here. Did Laura, after the book came out, come back at you and was mad at you or anything? Or
And you know what's funny? I'm going to add to it. First of all, it could have been a lot tougher. Okay, let's get that out of the way.
okay,
And I'd like to say to everybody that's listening to this, you go 65 days with people that you're a gypsy. Logistics are constantly changing. The only thing that's the same is just your paddle. Other than that, you're in new places, new everything. So tempers and feelings are going to be frayed and hit on and all of those things. So let's get that out of the way for number one. But number two, I actually paddled. There was a brigade on the Red Deer, and we sat beside each other and kind of reconciled.
okay, wow.
It just I'm. When I wrote that book, I kept thinking, do I put this in? Do I put this in? And I kept thinking, it's my story, and I can make this vanilla or maybe not vanilla. And I wanted
I loved
to
it.
bring
No,
I
I
wanted
like
to
it.
bring everything out.
Yeah, I like
And
that
I've
little
taken
controversy.
some shots about it. So
Yeah, I was wondering because you were pretty hard on her in there. Like, yeah.
Well, I never talked to you. I wanted to talk to you, but I would have just left it out. But that was the side I didn't like about it. But
Yeah. Interesting book, and I'm excited to see what the next one is. One thing I was going to talk to, so we've got another segment on the podcast, Would You Rather? So I got a couple questions for you guys here, and I think I might even know the answers to these ones. But okay, so would you rather paddle a kayak on a calm, wide river, or raft down a fast-moving whitewater section?
a raft.
yeah, of course.
Like you're going whitewatering. Yeah.
I'm a whitewater
The
guy.
word whitewater.
And
I should have been
That's
Gregory
a
Whitewater.
no-brainer.
I should have been Gregory Whitewater, I think.
Rick, you going whitewatering, or you're a little more?
I'm
calm,
a whitewater freak.
Yeah.
So so is Greg. But Greg challenged whitewater is a bunch of levels,
Yeah.
right, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys ever do any whitewater in Jasper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like whereabouts?
Oh,
wow.
that's if you want to take one of the premier whitewater sections for whitewater kayakers in probably all of Western Canada, would be Moline River.
Which you
Really,
can't
eh?
do anymore.
Yeah.
Why not?
It come down to that there were they were rafting it commercially, and Parks, I think, was trying to cut back on it, and so they come up with the excuse. And I don't know. This is
Harlequin ducks.
Harlequin duck was the, and they shut the whole thing down.
Wow.
Just over the ducks, and which they're only there for, I believe, the month of June. After that, they're gone.
Yeah.
And so it's just.
And then Parks Canada allowed them to go do rafting on the Sunwapta, and there's no harlequins on the Sunwapta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Story doesn't quite check out, eh? Yeah.
So,
We have a lot of listeners from like the Hinton area, the Northern Rockies. So I mean, like, we're trying to dig into the details. Like, I want people to listen to this podcast to be like, oh, that's like where I should go whitewater rafting. So you got any tips? Like, I know you mentioned Wild Hay down the Rock Lake Road there. Any other spots where people could tackle some?
McLeod?
so they want to do whitewater rafting or canoeing?
Let's try whitewater rafting right now. Let's say someone's listening right now. They want to do some whitewater rafting.
Well, you go to Jasper and you can sign on. I raft whitewater. I guide it.
Yeah.
If you really want as on the highest level of whitewater rafting in Jasper is the Sunwapta River. Mm-hmm. You can also run what's called the Mile 5 or the Athabasca Falls Run, which are both grade 2. They'll give you the buzz, but the other is grade 3, the Sunwapta. That's locally. Or what about in Grand Cache? You help me there, Greg.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's I don't even know if it's commercially run anymore, but
What they run, the sulfur?
the sulfur, would. Yeah, it is just the sulfur because the
And you ran the sulfur. I've never paddled it.
Yeah, no, it's. I guess it would be hard to. I think it would be hard to raft the Wild Hay.
Yeah.
It's not a rafting. It's not a rafting river. So
No.
when you go, if you want to just do strictly rafting, you're pinpointing certain rivers, and it would be like Jasper would be good. You could go up to the Fraser.
Oh, yeah, right.
You got a couple
And then
of
if you
sections there.
Rocky, yeah, and then if you really want to get into it, you get in the Kicking Horse
Yeah,
down in, southern.
Yeah.
Where's that? Revelstoke or Golden?
Golden. But then you need to know what you're doing and stuff too. So if you're just talking recreational, like rafting, floating down a river, well, I would suggest the Athabasca.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But to do the hay, I don't think it would.
No.
I don't think it would work. Hey, Rick, you don't
I
know
don't think
rafting
you could
either,
do
but-
a raft.
No.
No.
And then the other one would be the what were we just talking about in Grand Cache?
Muskeg.
Sulfur?
Muskeg.
Oh, Muskeg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you got a river on the bucket list you haven't tackled yet that you're like maybe this summer or anything coming up on the list that you want to do?
Not really, no. No. Last summer I was down in Ontario and I got to do the Ottawa, which was pretty exciting for an old guy like me to get in there and do some of the big whitewater and run into some guys that I could go with. I didn't want to go by myself, and
Yeah.
so I met some guys and they put me under their belt and I followed them down. It was awesome, but that's what you need to do. I think if you're really into whitewater and you want to get the experience on the water, just find somebody to go with and show you the ropes, because don't do it by yourself. We've seen so many people get spanked and it just doesn't work when you
And
try
maybe
and do it
turned
yourself.
off.
And turned off is a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
because some people never go back to it. Like
Yeah.
it's just like when I swam with my cousin. That was probably 50 years ago, pretty close.
Yeah.
I should have never got on a boat again, but
Yeah.
I did, because it was just something about it being on the water, and
Yeah.
so you want to have that good experience to start with, and then after a while, if you get spanked and get cold, and it's anyway, that's
Have you been on a river where you're like, I'm over my head? Like, I better get off here?
absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever I got to get out of this river then? Or
No, it's when you start talking about, you get into kayaking, it's a mind game.
Yeah.
It can, I can had enough experience now. I've done enough instructing and stuff, I can just watch people and I can tell if they're nervous or not just by the way they're paddling. And and if you don't have, how would you see it? Your seat, sitting in your seat properly, paddling right. You just, as soon as the nerves get, you just lose everything and your balance goes and everything. So it's just, it's a mind game thing, and that's why you need to practice and go with people and learn the skills and then build on your skills. So it's.
I'm curious, like, so Rick, like, you keep track of the rivers you're going down. So like after your,
and I never kept an official journal or anything. A lot of it's in there, remembering, and I might have missed something out, and when you write, let's put it this way, I'm not lying, but I can embellish. Who's gonna call me on it?
Not me.
I'm curious.
Anyway, sorry.
Well, I'm just curious about the whole, like, the mapping of rivers, like let's say you're going in for a day. How do you figure out where you're coming out at?
Oh my God!
Like, are you going on?
Well, sometimes you're paddling with somebody that's a local that knows.
Yeah,
that's important.
Yeah,
right.
Greg, we might have to give everyone your cell phone numbers. They can start calling you up when they.
There's actually there's a lot of paddling books out there. I mean, for canoeing, there's canoeing books. There's kayaking books and those guys have done it. Yeah, and they know. They give you the put-ins. They give you the
front, like for the Northern Rockies.
You would all across Canada, the books of every river.
Lots of books.
Yeah. So there's no shortage of that. No.
Yeah.
So.
Is that what you're using?
Just to add, you're asking that question. One thing that my wife and I have got into in the last few years, camping, is going up or down creeks, because a lot of times the flow isn't that hard, so you can go up it and down it. Or down it and up it. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And so you can do that without knowing an official put in, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we did that. I feel underqualified compared to you guys, but we brought a case of beer and a tube and floated down on the Pembina out by Entwistle.
Oh, sure.
You can get in at one point and you float for 4 hours. And then it's like a little horseshoe, and you get out and you walk right back to your car, like dynamite. That kind of leads me into my next would you rather question. Would you rather paddle 5 kilometers upstream or 50 kilometers downstream?
It's a no-brainer.
Easy one?
50K down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I have to. Go you first, Greg. I brought it up in my book. If somebody would have told me that paddling upstream, when we hit the Winnipeg River and we had to paddle upstream, if you're with a tandem boat or a solo kayak, it would be drudgery. But with 6 paddlers in a Voyageur canoe, it became a challenge and it was fun.
Yeah,
I really got off on it. It was paddling is dimensions and learning, isn't it, Greg? Mm-hmm. And for me, it was a whole dimension that I didn't even know existed, and it became a challenge, and I cherished it. I really did.
I was wondering about that because we had Margaret from the museum on a couple episodes ago, and she was talking about like the Voyageurs coming this way, and it's like, well, they're paddling upstream the whole way, like amazing.
They worked their butts off.
Yeah,
we're not even close.
Yeah,
I mean. Greg is not going to jump in his kayak and go upstream.
You're not going upstream?
No.
Not happening.
I'm a something for nothing kind of guy. I love going down.
Do you have any interest in going in lakes? Or is that just like...
Oh, I do lakes with the canoes. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Fine floating around.
But no, if you somebody come up to me and say, well, you want to go lake paddle or go to river paddle, well, I guess what it would be? It'd be river for sure.
Yeah. I'm curious to see so we mentioned your guys' trip up in the Clearwater River there, and you did a little fishing. Is that something you're normally doing on your trips? You have a fishing rod with you? Are you doing any fishing or?
Not normally on a day trip if you're going for the group.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Rick and I did it when we went by ourselves. We took the rods with us because we both like fishing, and we do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of what was it? Chain lakes we did up by Prince George there. What was it called?
Fort Fraser.
Yeah, it was. We all took fishing rods then because it was good fishing. No, that was really
was
fun
awesome.
because that was probably some of the best river fishing we've done.
Yes.
We'd be floating and you'd be just cruising along. You just throw it out there and just let it come along and bang. It was just so sweet.
Yeah.
It was
Your people cannot see me, but this is how I would be sitting in a canoe fishing.
Rick's laid back in the lawn chair right now.
it was. No, you just. It was the coolest thing.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I want to hear about a couple more hairy experiences if you guys have any in mind. I mean, you talked about like cuddling up when you're chilly out on the river there. Any times when you're like doing these multi-day trips where you run into boat issues or, you know, like, I mean, you mentioned when you were doing the Clearwater that you guys didn't even have a satellite phone or anything. Like, did you have a backup plan for that one? Was there someone waiting for you? Like, hey, if we don't hear from you in 2 weeks, we'll send something in, or how did that work?
No, we would have just. I mean, if you would have lost one boat, you probably would have just put everybody in the two boats. So
Yeah.
But if it would have been worse than that, well, then you're
Hiking.
I wish I had
somebody
you-
would have paddled out, I guess. But
Yeah. I did the mountain river with a bunch of people, and I wish Ella was here. We had to do some repairs on our canoe, and I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly what it was. Somebody hit a rock, and
Yeah.
I think we had a crack, and we figured out a way to fix it.
Is that
But
something?
fortunate, sorry, go ahead.
I was just wondering if that's something you put in your emergency kit then, like some kind of repairs for a canoe or glue or.
Oh, absolutely.
That's regular,
On especially if you're doing,
Clearwater, we did.
yes.
Yeah.
If maybe on the Wild Hay, not so much because, well, it could happen, but you could walk out and you're on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were asking about
Experience.
rivers experiences.
Yeah, like there's experiences that maybe you're like, okay, I'm over my head, or
Well, I have a friend, Brian Keith, that thinks that Greg Hore tried to kill him.
wow,
Kill them both. Yeah.
you took him on a trip
Take
with you.
your
or-
turn.
No, your turn. You brought that one up. You could tell.
It's a river that I would love to go back with in a raft or a canoe with a spray skirt. And you know exactly which river I'm talking about. South of us is the Cardinal River. Mm-hmm. And we really got beat up, my partner and I. And I'm not going to blame the canoe, but I had a canoe that took in way too much water when it shouldn't have. We tried every trick, but we got beat up pretty badly. And thankfully, Greg was leading the... Well, he was leading us, but he was using old information.
Well,
You gotta, add to this.
well, there
But,
was.
yeah.
It goes both ways because I mean there was Bev and I, and then Ian and
Helga.
I mean, we done fine on the trip, but our buddies didn't do so good. So you got to weigh that out too.
Fair ball.
What happened is the Cardinal had a big landslide. Probably, oh Christ, that must have been 30 years ago.
Yeah, like it's been a long
20
time, my friend.
30 years ago anyway, because we used to kayak down there frequently.
Do you know where the Cardinal is?
No,
It's
can't picture it.
Brazo River down by Small Boys.
Okay, yeah.
And then the Cardinal runs into the Brazo, and it goes back up.
Okay,
Starts in the
northwest,
Rockies.
I guess. Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, it was a friendly little paddle to do, but then what happened with this rocks, big landslide to come down, blocked the river off, totally blocked off, and it made a lake. So and it sat there for years and years and years, and then
And the water
last time-
dribbled through.
yeah, the river would just go dribble through, and then we'd done it one time, and then you just walk down the side of it and
Okay.
get in your boats and carry on. So
Yeah.
when we get here, there's no lake. So we paddled all the way down.
And we had swam twice already.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just before Greg continues, when people go over in cold water, they become very apprehensive. They're not leaning into turns.
Mm-hmm.
They're not aggressive. They're just not paddling competently, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They've lost their nerve.
Yeah.
They'd rather just sit there and please.
Yeah.
No.
Let's hopefully go the right way.
And we had a bit of that going on.
Yeah.
I admit it.
So then we got to the end where the lake should have been, and there was just this walk down to past this rapid. Well, it ended up cutting its way through this, so it was like I'm going to say close to
Grade 3
rapid, I guess, but there wasn't the volume there to make it like that. But so long story short, we just end up lining the boats down, and there was a little short section where we had to go through a rock cut and got through, but it didn't work out as good as we thought because I haven't been down there for a long time, and then things change on the river. But I mean,
But
you have to expect that all the time anyway.
It's beautiful, beautiful country. Yeah. I would love to do that section again on an overnight. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah,
Greg.
you could camp halfway.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of like there's road not that far away, but it's wilderness.
Yeah. My
So
plan this summer is to do an overnight trip in this area, ideally. You guys recommend like Athabasca? I mean, it's an easy one.
You can do for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Above or below, whatever.
Yeah.
McLeod.
Yeah. McLeod? How we don't know how good a paddler you are.
Not good.
Okay.
Okay. Athabasca. Zero experience. But
yes.
After talking to you guys, like I'm just inspired to get out there and like me and
Why
the wife
don't you take that course?
Yeah, I should.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt.
You mentioned June 15th and 16th.
I forget which one is the tandem. You and your wife should take it.
So what do you learn at a course like that? Like,
you're going to learn strokes.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know what a draw stroke is?
Scott texted me today to ask
Do you know what a
about
prize
this
stroke
too.
is?
And he said,
Do you know what a crossbow?
I don't know what any of these strokes are.
Then take the course.
Scott.
Because you won't learn it unless you do.
Yeah. No. Scott mentioned, like, is there paddle strokes that everyone has to learn? Is this?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What is the, like, can we talk about that on the podcast, or that's got to be something in the boat you're learning about, I guess?
Well,
I mean, you could talk about it, but you can't really see actually what's happening because there's so many different strokes to do so many different things. So, no, I wouldn't try and do it on a podcast. No, I would just encourage people to take a course and learn it firsthand because that's the best way.
And
see it
and practice.
Yes.
You guys have been doing it for however many years. Did you take a course? Have you taken courses?
Absolutely. I've taken so many courses. Like that first trip with Lindsay Thompson, then after that
Did you go to Blue Lake?
I did, yeah. I took courses there, and then courses for paddling, all my paddling skills, and then I did all my instructor skills, like level 1, level 2, river rescue, river instructor, river leader.
Wow.
Like right up to is probably as far as you can go for river, for kayaking for sure, not canoeing.
Me personally, canoe courses, a couple, and we learned a lot by paddling with people that maybe knew a little more or played off. We learned together. Is that a fair statement, Greg? I mean, you talk those courses, but you learn stuff by paddling with other people. Yeah. You know, doing it a lot.
Yeah,
you learn by mistake and doing your own things, and you can teach other people stuff too. So it's not all it's just somebody teaching you everything. They don't know everything. There's other things that you could teach them. So it's wide open.
Yeah, and it's exchange of ideas. Yeah. It's tips.
You're right, Rick. I wasn't going to, but I am going to sign up for that course now.
No, and seriously, because when you said you don't know what a draw stroke is or any of those, go.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Right, Greg? You're going to be like it's a new world.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because I feel like sometimes I might overestimate my skills. Like I'm just like, I'll just throw a canoe in the river.
And that happens.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, because it's just like, how hard is it? But As you guys have talked about on the podcast here, there's some challenges out there.
I think the most dangerous paddlers are people that, and Greg and I have seen this, and a bunch of guys get together and we're going to go paddle and they know nothing, and alcohol may be involved, and
yeah.
Sometimes I'm surprised there aren't more accidents.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, there might have been accidents. They might have had a canoe around a rock or something, but maybe another step up.
Right.
And just get the basic strokes and then go from there.
Yeah.
And it's way more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And doing it with a group of people it's a lot of fun. That's why with the Hinton Strokers it was so much fun, because you do the Wednesday night one, and a lot of times it's a Friday night one, and then you sit and socialize and have beers at the campfire after. And you wouldn't get home till 1 a.m, but who cares? Like, you're just out there enjoying the evening and camaraderie. Oh, that'd be a good one. I think.
Yeah, I want to hear the story.
I want a story that might end the podcast.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, how much longer we got to go?
Yeah, let's wind down the podcast with this story.
We have a pretty emotional Greg story.
Okay.
That I have told many times since, but it happened to my friend Greg.
Yeah. Let's hear it. This will we'll wind down the podcast. It's been an hour now, so this is
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought we could carry on. I was having so much fun here. Okay. Sounds good. Go ahead. You tell it better than I do.
Me?
Yeah.
And you add to it because it's your story.
No, it's
In the early days of the Hinton Strokers. No, okay.
No, I like it. It feels like a real story.
And we were more canoeing than kayaking. Yeah. And it's hard to explain this to the younger people. How did people connect when you were in 1981, 82 to do stuff?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't have internet, but we did, and there were a lot of.
It's the old crank phone. Yeah. That's so far long ago.
Yeah.
And anyways, there were a lot of sort of younger people that somehow we connected with that wanted to canoe, and our skills weren't that good.
Yeah.
But we learned some courses, and the Wild Hay River. The Wild Hay River, by the way, I just as a sideline, Maddie with the county is going around finding out names of places that are historic.
Yeah.
Jaws.
Jaws?
Jaws.
Okay.
Named after the famous movie Jaws. Okay. Anyways, if you paddle this one section of Wild Hay, within 15, 20 minutes, you're at Jaws, right? It's up at the upper end. Yeah. And everybody knows it. And if you fool around with Jaws, you're going to swim. But you can do it. Anyways, it's no.
Okay.
It's now on the county map, by the way.
Perfect.
Is it really? I'm good. Good for you. That's awesome.
So, Greg, you what were you doing? It's your story. Go ahead. You were up by Rock Lake.
Actually, Bev and I were just up there. We went up there for camping for the weekend, and I don't think we're even paddling. I think it was late in the year, and we were just up there camping, and we were camped at one of the, well, it was a nice little spot where it was overlooking the Wild Hay. And all of a sudden, I hear this motorbike roll up and come motorbike
on the gravel road.
Coming around, and so the guy pulled over and he asked me, he said, "Yeah, do you know the river very well?" And I said, "Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, I've just been here a few times." He said, what are you looking for? He says, "Well, I'm looking for a section called Jaws." And I said, "Well, I think I know where that is." And I said, "Why do you want to know that?" And he says, "Well," "my dad used to paddle here, and he passed away a few years ago, and he wanted me to come up and dump some ashes on this corner of Jaws because it was his favorite spot to paddle on the river." So I just I said, "Yeah, well, I can show you where that is," and it just happened to. So we ended up striking up a conversation because I actually worked with his dad too. When I worked with Lindsay Thompson.
Oh wow.
We worked together, plus we paddled together. So it was, and then this kid was just like crazy about, he found this guy. where we could direct him down to Jaws. So we drove him up the road and got him on the right trail, and he went down and did his thing. But I think you talked to him, or you didn't talk to him after, did you? Or?
Well, the thing about it, in the whole world, the only guy that knows how to get to Jaws off the road is this guy.
Greg. Yeah.
Like, I know how to get it.
What are the chances, eh?
And I kind of know the road is over there, but I'm not sure where.
So
And you knew
that way, yeah. So.
And didn't he say that he knew he'd run into somebody that would know?
I don't know why he just. I think he did actually. He says I'm just going up there and just doing my thing, and it ended up running into me. What's the chances of that?
What's the chances?
And the fella's name was Mike Niven.
Wow.
And I was almost, while I was in tears when he told me about it, because that was our early days of paddling.
Yeah.
We did tons of that river together as people, and it was really, really emotional to hear that.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Isn't
amazing.
that a cool story?
Wow. Amazing.
You're a little freaky, but
yeah. It's like it was meant to be. Yeah.
It was. It had to be. Like
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, guys. This is
it's
been a great talk about rivers. I guess my final question for you is, let's say, I think we kind of touched on this, like for myself, even like not knowing anything, but like you're recommending someone that wants to get into the rivers, wants to do some whitewater rafting, canoeing, like take a course, call Greg up.
And you know what? Find people that I'm actually going to paddle in June with Margaret and some young people. I want people to find out about the river.
Yeah.
Especially the Wild Hay River is a magical river. So is the McLeod. And your generation doesn't know what you have in your backyard. Mm-hmm. It's that simple.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
No, they just there's not a lot of paddlers out there anymore, so it's just
yeah. Why is that? Do you think? Is it just?
Oh my God!
Like, are you running into people on the river now when you're out there? Or is it pretty?
Never.
No, you're just
Never.
Like I had my kids into it, and, well, especially my oldest one, Jay, and 9 years old. I had him in a kayak, and by the time he was old enough, like him and his buddy, and I thought I had him hook and sinker to take over the Hinton Strokers, and mountain biking come along. So so they're gone. It was just
and no shuttles.
No shuttles. Just I don't know. It's something that it gets in, especially in a kayak. It's something that's getting in your blood when you get up a good surf wave and you can just sit there and hang out, and it's just fun. It's like downhill skiing to people, or it's a cold, wet sport, but when it gets under your skin, it
Why do people ice climb?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just,
Did your son Don get into paddling at all?
I'm glad he didn't, because he would have been scary.
Yeah. I played with Don beer league hockey. I would mention, like, he was like one of the glue guys on the team this year. Like, always excited to see Don in the dressing room. So that was cool to see that connection.
Yeah, he was a snowboarder. If you want to talk snowboarding, you get him on.
Yeah.
Good point.
If you want to do a podcast about snowboarding, one notch from being pro, he's the guy.
Perfect. Yeah. We did one this winter on the chairlift in Marmot Basin going up there, which was fun. But I'd love to get Don on. Yeah. Rick, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me again.
Yeah, of course.
This is a ton of fun.
Loved your book, 21st Century Voyageur. Excited for the next book, Rivers with Rick, possibly.
Pressure's on.
Yeah, pressure's on. You said you have it written. You're doing some editing.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
no
I've actually
timeline,
I've got the 3/4 of it done. I don't have an introduction or a conclusion, but I've got basically all the rivers and what I want to do. I'm going to add to it and edit and but
110 rivers, over 110 rivers. Yeah. Greg, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your insight and
And I'm glad you brought my friend on. I really am.
Yeah. Scott was upset he was missing this one. He was like, I can't believe I'm missing this
one.
But
he was going to be here, actually. It was
if you guys want to send an email into the podcast, wildernesswave@outlook.com, leave us a review wherever you're listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Wow.
Wilderness Wavelength.